Honestly, strikes isn't something that just pops up overnight. Typically, strikes are talked about several years, definitely several months before employees actually decide to go on strike. Because strike is like almost like all right, because I done asked you for this a bunch of times and you said no. So now I'm about to hit you in your pockets. And they tell the employer that they're going to go on a strike before they go on a strike. So it's not something that's like unknown and surprising by any means. Our average salary for employees were proposed to be at 75,000 to 100,000. That's average salary. And all of the employees actually wanted a 35% pay hike. Hey y'all, this is Tamika, the face behind Heyyy HR, and now we're going to talk all about strikes. And so people may say, like, what's the strike? Because now that I work in a global company, I hear people talk about strikes for different things. So I've heard strikes with like performance management. I've heard strikes with position movements, things like that. And so now when we talk about strikes here in the US, I want to clarify that strikes only go or mainly, I think now that we have this as an organized thing, strikes mainly go with employees that are in an organized group called a union. And I'll go through far more details about that because honestly, it's more than just being like, okay, bam, they're in a union. So anyhow, if you want to know all about these companies that are experiencing these strikes in recent times, which I feel like I see a spike of them here in 2024, then definitely keep watching. So let's first talk about the definition of a strike. A strike is literally a refusal to work and is organized by a body of employees as a form of a protest or some type of pushback, you'd say, but it's typically so that they can gain some type of concession or agreement or benefit from their employer. And I wouldn't even say benefit because sometimes it's because they feel like they've been neglected in some type of way, or they feel like the company hasn't really stood next to their agreement, their CBA, their contractual binding agreement, like they said that they would. And typically we get all excited because when we hear a strike, we're like, oh, especially when we talk about the port strikes, everybody goes into this hysteria of why are they fighting for more money? They already make a lot of money. And honestly, strikes isn't something that just pops up overnight. Typically, strikes are talked about several years, definitely several months before employees actually decide to go on strike. Because strike is like almost like all right, because I done asked you for this a bunch of times and you said no. So now I'm about to hit you in your pockets. And they tell the employer that they're going to go on a strike before they go on a strike. So it's not something that's like unknown and surprising by any means. And I'll tell you, the first time I worked with like organized group of employees, like a union, was when I was in high school. High school is so crazy because my mom was the steward or the leader of the school bus drivers that were already or had agreed to be in the union. She was a leader of them and at her location. And so all of the grievances, I used to like write them up for her and type them and all different things. I've gone to hearings with her. A hearing one time for her when she lost her job. She went to this hearing. She was out of work for almost a year and they had to give her back her job and give her the pay that she missed from all this time because they were wrong. So like usually a union is to help protect workers. Unions really come from more of those jobs that you do that are blue collar jobs, like you getting into dangerous predicaments, like the railroad system, obviously the ports, things like that. So some of the places that are most common for still having a union are like Boeing, that creates the aircrafts, UPS, still school bus drivers, now teachers, and it's not in every state. Like it's in different states that allows it to happen. And it's not in every organization. Like majority of the employees have to vote in to say, we literally want a union. Because unions aren't just like, hey, we're here to protect you for free. Typically it includes you paying a fee. And not everybody agrees with paying a fee for that additional protection. So some of the companies that have been experiencing a lot of strikes lately are hotel companies. And before we even get into talking about the hotel companies, I did a blog and it was literally about the ports blog. And that's the one about the port strike. And that's the one that I think you guys would benefit most from, because instead of focusing so much on the port strike, I really focus mainly on what the heck is a strike. So the hotels on Labor Day of 2024, quite a few different chains decided we're going to shut down because they haven't been treating us well. Following them, was the port workers, or the International Longshoremen's Association, and it really stopped across in multiple places across the U.S., multiple ports across the U.S. So that wasn't just a one port thing. When you see that multiple ports or multiple hotels in various states all strike at the same time, that's your first cue that this strike ain't something that they just now talk about. It's organized, and you can't organize across states like that and to get that many people to literally like kind of protest if they weren't aware of the issues going on long before. And then the latest one is the Boeing strike. So Boeing had a 6-week strike. For the port workers, I believe it was only like 3 or 4 days. I think for the hotels, it was only 2 days, like that Labor Day weekend. Either way, I didn't do a blog about Boeing, so that's why I'm going to go into detail here. But to give you a little backup, because we don't have a blog on the Boeing strike, is that Boeing employees strike for 6 weeks. You might say, well, hold up, Tamika. I noticed everybody strike. Not every Boeing location has a union. But the ones that did have it, they strike for 6 weeks. Boeing itself lost $6.1 billion last quarter. Average sales for employees were proposed, or average salary for employees were proposed to be at $75,000 to $100,000. That's average salary. And all of the employees actually wanted a 35% pay hike. Now, I'm going to tell y'all, for this Boeing strike, this is about the only one I really got some feelings about against more so the union workers. Because one, so many people, Boeing has a location here, or multiple locations here now in Charleston, South Carolina. And when they first came, those people would not vote the damn union in. It took them, I think, 2 or 3 votes before they got enough votes that people would say, yes, we want a union here. And the cost of living is not only low here, but also the salaries. This 35% increase is huge for people in South Carolina, but it doesn't even match or equate to the people that's already in Washington State. So just throwing that out there. The same way that Boeing lost billions of dollars, so did the port workers. They lost billions. I don't think I had a record of how much the hotel workers lost. And when I say lose, it's because not just, oh, well, we had to stop business. Like now they have to like refund customers money. They have to change deadlines, which means they have to change contractual agreements. They have to give back money, that type of thing. But they started by announcing the upcoming layoff and with 10% of their workforce. And that's how they kind of said, hey, we're going to go into a strike, that type of thing. 33,000 employees walked off the job for the strike. So obviously that's over 10%. So if Boeing had listened, it probably would have been 0 or definitely less than 10%. But now it's 33,000 employees. And the company did not want to negotiate their pension. Now, the salary is a little different for me. I feel like salary need to go by person. And that's where unions kind of get on my nerves. Because in this contractual binding agreement, they'll have like every employee with this title should get this. Everybody, and I just feel like when you have multiple locations like this, there are different work expectations that's a little bit different, even if I got the exact same job description. So I'm a little like, I need more details on that part. But when we talk about pensions, too many companies aren't giving pensions and people need them. Social Security is too damn low. It's not enough to live on here in the U.S. That's what people typically get when they retire, is Social Security income. And back in the day when my father, who is much significantly older than my mom, when he was working, like pensions were like keep your house alive and be able to pay all your bills. Now, not enough companies giving out pensions. But the craziest thing about Boeing is that this strike was their biggest quarterly loss since 2020. And don't we expect 2020 to be a hit, right? Because people are really like not able to travel. People are changing deadlines on when they want planes built and created. They are not able to ship them because a lot of places were closed. So we expect that for 2020. So this is totally unexpected to some degree, right? And then lastly, another strike that you guys might not remember, this was more in 2023, is the Writer Guild. And if it wasn't 2023, it was like January 2024. But personally, I try not to talk about that one too much because I have worked with them professionally from an HR standpoint. So I try to stay away from things, that can cause me problems. So not going into much detail about that at all. Didn't write no blog about it. Be prepared. I probably won't talk about it. But we can definitely talk about the hotel, the port workers, and the Boeing. And to be honest with you, I think that the most biggest shocking thing to me about this is that they're happening far more often. Traditionally, you used to have strikes like 1 every couple of years, because when we got through from the time with like railroad and international highways and things, and then they had gotten to a place where they're like, okay, now I feel like I'm working safe, I'm being paid equally. And so strikes really did not become as common. When they started coming up again, it was more so in the automotive industry, right? But now it's like all over the place. So very interesting. One thing I thought about going through and understanding is like more details that may have given me an insight of like if we could predict when a hike of strikes like this is going to happen again. That's just the nerd in me. For now, if y'all got any questions, holla at your girl. Been working in HR for over 10 years. I happily sit as a global human resources business partner where I've worked myself up from HR assistant all the way to HR director. And now that's the position I'm in. And I have a double master's degree in MBA as well as a master's in human resources management. And I have the highest level SHRM certifications. I want y'all to know, sis ain't just out here just talking. Like, there's brains behind this content. So if you got any questions for me, meet me in the comments. For those of you who are new, welcome. I hope you consider subscribing. For those of you who are returning, I thank you so much for returning. Per usual, can't wait to see y'all on the next video.